when he wrote one of the most shocking portraits of gang life in South Central. The author of the autobiography of an LA gang member. Please welcome Monster Kody.
The first obvious question is, where did Monster come from?
The name?
Yeah.
Because America produced me, but the name came from a beating that I had given the guy. We had robbed him.
Okay.
And the dude hit me in the face, and then we chased him and beat him and stomped him and disfigured him. And the pigs, police, were saying that whoever had did this to this cat was Monster. And the look on the people's faces when I came back to the hood that night, and when they were telling me that, what the pigs said, I was like, it just was almost like that was supposed to be me. That the way they looked and the way they looked at me, it was just power. I felt it, and I just took that name. And so that's where that name came from. I wanted to comment on something that Dub C said a minute ago about the choices and the consequences. A lot of times, our community as a whole is sick. The community as a whole is sick. And so the sick society produces abnormalities. And street organizations, gangs, are those abnormalities. And so when we go out and shoot another brother or sister or an innocent, it's the hate we got in us for self that makes him a nigga, makes her a bitch. It's that internal hate. So something is wrong with the community. That there's an analogy that the Dead Prez use on their new CD about the wolf and the blade. It's an old story about how natives would put a blade into the ice, and the wolf would come and he would lick the blade, right? They would put blood on the blade and he would lick the blade. He would cut his tongue and continue to lick the blade until he bled to death. But he thought he was eating something, but he was licking the blood. Do you blame the wolf for trying to eat, or do you blame the person that put the knife in the ice?
Yeah, we don't produce.
And that's what our community, that's what's going on.
Welcome back. Now, we introduced him to you guys as Monster, but actually his real name is Sanyika, right?
That's right.
I have a question, because when I read your book, you talk about your initiation into a gang, and it really disturbed me. You got to tell people how old were you and what you had to do.
I was recruited into my neighborhood at age 11. But you got to understand that the way you're saying it and the way it sounds is not the way it is.
Okay, well,
and that's a different reality. What I'm saying is, when you're growing up on the block and you play Little League and Pop Warner with these cats, you ride dirt bikes with them, you skate with them from Street Kings, skateboards, that becomes your unit, your circle of reality, your friends.
Okay.
So, like Dub C said, any affront, any attack upon that unit is an attack upon you. So, whether you know you have that violent tendency in you or not, you're going to react with emotion to one of your friends being assaulted, disrespected, shot, whatever. So that rage comes out. So my point is, when my unit grew up, they went into the hood, which was in my neighborhood, my set, right? And because this was my social unit, I followed my crew. And then, so I got recruited.
And then what did you have to do?
There's a series of things you have to do. It depends on what neighborhood you're from. Every neighborhood is not a military
in the
hood.
book, it says
My neighborhood is a military hood. My neighborhood is not a picnic hood. My neighborhood ain't a dressing hood. We ain't a wall banging hood. My neighborhood is a military hood.
So what did you have to do?
Basically, what I did was I went to the people who were recruiting, and I asked them, could I get on? And after a series of I guess investigations about who you were, who your family was, where you lived at, how were you as a youngster, then they accepted me. And
you were
as a
asked to do?
consequence, I was courted on physically first.
Okay.
Courted on.
Getting beat up?
Yeah, well, if in my case I got beat up, I was 11. In my case, yeah, but you have to try to fight back, because that's a test you have to go through to see if you can handle yourself physically. You know, and so sometimes it's 3 or 4 guys on one dude, or 3 or 4 women on one girl.
Did you have to kill anyone?
I don't know if no one died or not. I know I had to put in work. But
still at military. I'm still
So military means you had weapons. You had a weapon.
You got to understand that street organizations are military units. period.
Well, let me ask you, what always amazed me is how youth can kill other youth. And do you think it's attributed to the fact that when you're young like that, you really sometimes don't understand and appreciate the value of life?
Yes, but two, you're right. But this particular country and this culture puts so little value on our lives that we begin to devalue our lives. And so it's nothing for me to kill you because I don't care about me. So I ain't gonna care about you.
In your book, you said before there's peace between the Crips and the Bloods, there has to be peace between the Crips. What is that all about?
It's basically just as it was. The Damus have to settle their differences with themselves. Blood. That's Swahili for blood.
Okay.
And they got to settle their issues. We have to settle ours, right? Because the Crip nation, and I say that, I mean that in a sense because it's structured like that, has internal strife, internal problems. But my whole thing is to eventually unite both of these, Crips and Bloods, and create some type of movement that youth can join as opposed to having to join criminal organizations.
Yes, that's very important.
Do you feel me? Yeah, I'm a school teacher, in fact. Right now, I've got out and I've helped start an alternative high school in L.A.
Okay, good for you.
What we do, I teach 5 subjects. U.S. history, math, geography, English,